Well, to that point, Dan, so that's going to go to our next, part of our segment where we ask you to make it make sense.
It's simple mathematics. Check it out.
I like
There you
it.
go. Makes sense.
Make it make sense. So we're going to have a chance for whether we're going to build the case for something that happened this offseason that we think should continue, or that we are able to shout out and we want to support, or we're going to destroy something that happened regarding this offseason where we're just like, no way, not on our watch, and we need to stop this and end it now. So we're going to start off with you, Dan.
All right. I'm ready for this. I just dropped this article actually on the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Go check it out. Team profiles fantasy football on the Miami Dolphins. And in that, I said, you got to make it make sense as to why Devon Achane is RB9 in his ADP, especially when you add in the fact that Raheem Mostert right now ADP is RB28. Look, Devon Achane in a few games was electrifying. I get it. It's fun to watch. I'm a Madden player. I'm a fantasy football player. I found it exciting to watch him. I am not trying to have this come off to be a hater person on Devon Achane, but there has to be a reality check here at some point. We're talking about a guy who averages 12 opportunities per game. His size was an issue, hence why he only played 11 games last season, was hurt going into the year, and then came out of the year missing 6 more games on top of it. Now, all of a sudden, we saw him. What happens when he doesn't hit on those 12 opportunities? Yes, in the beginning of the season, when they played the Denver Broncos and they were catching everybody off guard in the months of September and October, where we know the Miami Dolphins offense is at its best, he was RB4 overall on a per-game basis. Great. Fantastic. It's metrics that aren't sustainable. No running back in the history of any NFL is ever going to sustain a 7.7 yards per carry. No running back in the NFL is ever going to sustain a 7.8% touchdown rate. It's unreasonable to expect that week in and week out. And then what happened when he got back from his injury from weeks 12 through 18? He dived back down to being more of an RB19. I'm not saying he's not a good player. He is, but you cannot draft him as an RB9. One, it's too risky that he'll be available enough of the time to give you back return on that investment. And we've seen now what happens. He's more of a boom bust, low end RB2 when he doesn't hit. That's the issue. That's his real value. There's no way I'm going to draft Devon Achane ahead of Raheem Mostert when Mostert's going to be the lead back on his own team. It's going to be more consistent from week to week. I love Devon Achane, but you're setting yourself up from failure if you're going to draft him at his ceiling at RB9. So make that make sense. It needs to have a reality check.
I like it. Dan's destroying the case for taking Achane too early. There's no way you should be doing it. Adam, how about you?
I cannot stand the argument on Twitter. I see it in all fantasy football spaces, but it drives me the most insane on Twitter that in dynasty rookie drafts, you need to, hey, if Bo Nix is falling out of the first, you got to go get him. It's a quarterback. There's, upside of the quarterback position. It matters more than all the other positions. I agree with those things, and I can accept that argument for why you would take like a Caleb over a Marvin. Sure. Fair, because the upside, if he's an elite quarterback, that is more impactful than an elite receiver. Willing to give you that one. Okay. Even for some of these other quarterbacks, I'm willing to accept it. For last year, for taking your swing on Richardson early, sure, I can get it. Mobile quarterbacks, really valuable. Dan, we're talking about how hard it is for a pocket passer, first of all, to provide fantasy value. And then we're talking about one who does not throw deep, so have fun with your touchdowns, for one who it just isn't very aggressive. He has some mobility, I guess, but like rollout mobility, not running for touchdowns mobility. In this offense last year, we saw sure, Russell Wilson had okay fantasy numbers. That's great and all, but it was very clear that he was a game manager, game in and game out. This wasn't like a let's unleash this quarterback. This is a let the run game and defense win and just don't mess it up for me. And then I keep seeing the argument to come back with oh, you don't know quarterback eval is as good as Sean Payton. Drew Brees did great when people weren't believing in him. I'm sorry. Every single quarterback outside of, I guess, if you want to give him Taysom Hill, I'm willing to give him Taysom Hill. Every single quarterback that succeeded under Sean Payton he signed or traded for from outside his building, he has not drafted quarterbacks to save his life. Like, I'm sorry.
You don't like Grayson, Sean Mannion?
Ian Book was on a different practice squad like the next year. Like, pretending he's some great quarterback evaluator is asinine to me. Like, if you want to give him he's a great offensive mind, offensive coordinator, sure. Like, all of those things, 100%. He knows way more than me. But I'm sorry. He has done nothing in the draft specifically for me to think, oh, yeah, he's infallible in his QB decision-making in the draft for rookie quarterbacks, for what it takes to get from college to the next level. If you want to tell me, okay, cool, I've seen NFL film on this guy, I know what I can do with him. Yeah, he can do that. But I've never seen him go, I see this guy's college film, I know how that translates to the NFL. Never seen it. I don't think that's a valid argument to me. I can't stand it. Look, if Bo Nix is falling to the mid to late second, sure. Like, at that point, I'm willing to take it. You have a fill-in quarterback. But I don't think that often in his NFL career, Bo Nix is going to be more than QB 24, which is what I need to care in Dynasty for me personally.
Dude, we have taken so many shots as Sean Payton and Bo Nix. This episode, I absolutely love it. Love it.
Hey, they deserve them. I think it is what it is. You know, and I think you guys bring up both good points about some of the quarterback plays. Like, you're looking at, what we're seeing from these teams, and it's just, I don't know. So for me, one of the things I'm struggling with, and just I need to make sense, it doesn't make sense, is I'm not as big as Malik Neighbors fans as everybody else is, but this narrative that he's going to be like one of the best fantasy receivers to have rookie-wise, or one of these guys that you want to have right now, that's going to be, you can bet for rookie of the year. Malik Neighbors, Dan, how many touchdowns did Daniel Jones throw? You said 2 years ago? I believe it was 15. How is he going to get to these numbers? I look at an offense that does not push the ball down the field, does not have a propensity to have offensive capability outside their quarterback being mobile. They lost Saquon Barkley. So I had to see this offense do anything. I know this with the draft capital. I know this idea, well, he could be Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen was throwing the ball Stephon Diggs, not Daniel Jones. So I got to see how in the world this is going to pan out. People have this love from Malik Neighbors and what he's going to be able to do and what he's going to do, debate with Marvin Harrison this year. It is no debate in my book. I'm sorry. Malik Neighbors might be a decent receiver overall, but you ain't going to be somebody you need to have on your fantasy team this year.
Well, Chris, I'm with you on that. I'm literally writing about it. I mentioned Malik Neighbors before. Yes, the target share is going to be there. He's going to have a floor. But right now, his ADP has him going somewhere like borderline top 20. And I'm with you. I just got off, the beginning of this episode talking about how I had to get it out of my system, but what happened to Garrett Wilson, who I was so high on last year? And Garrett Wilson, it wasn't a lack of volume that was the issue. Again, 4th in targets, 100 receptions for the season. The problem was 6.2 yards per target, and the problem was 3 touchdowns on the season. It's very conceivable that Malik Neighbors could wind up in a very, very similar situation. And Adam, you and I both comped Malik Neighbors, oddly enough, to Garrett Wilson to begin with. So, yeah, unless you're going to suddenly get better quarterback play out of Daniel Jones, I don't see the efficiency. I don't see the touchdowns. The volume might be there, but when the efficiency is that piss poor, sometimes it doesn't actually matter. Do I think he has a floor as a wide receiver 3? That territory? Yeah, 100%. But right now, his ADP is pushing him as a top 20 wide receiver. So I will lay that out for you as a good example as to why I think you are correct as far as the hype being too much in that direction.
Yeah, I think, Stan, and I think Malik Neighbors, like I said, just cool down the Jets. I'm not betting on him.